Okay, so I just thought I should increase the text size a little, so here it is. And in our previous video, we learned about how to use the fetched object data, then separate the ID from our window.location.href, then compare the two IDs and give out the results. But there is actually a better way to filter the whole array of objects, and that is through the backend. And like two videos back where we learned about route parameters, we learned about the whole request or params object, right? And in this video, we will be utilizing that. So basically, this is the products.js file that we created in our previous video. So basically the thing that I've commented here, this line of code where we filter out the ID value, where we are comparing it, we will actually be doing this through the backend. So I'll just comment it out again. And what we are doing here is the JSON data that we fetched. We are using the find method and we are comparing the ID number with the ID value that we extracted from the window.location.href. So basically, now what we do is we go back to our index.js file and I'll be creating another route parameter, but in our API. So API slash v1 slash data. This is where all our JSON data is stored. And I will be adding a parameter here with the name of product ID. All right. Or I should name it data ID. I don't know. It's the same thing, but it looks better. So I'll use the callback function. And now this is where I will be using the rec.params object. So I can either use object destructuring for it. So data ID and request.params. So either I can destructure it like this, or I can name this anything, and I can add a dot data ID that is accessing the data ID value. Suppose I can just add here data. Yeah, I can just do it this way, but I like to destructure it like this. It just makes your code a little short, I guess. But now what we have to do is we have to name like the single, I'll name it single product. And what we have to do is use the find method here instead. And hope you know how the find method works. I just pass in a placeholder value x and I call I access its ID value and it should be equal to the data ID that I just got from the request.params object. So what I can also do is I can add a error handling here. So if I don't get a single product, then a I'm going to return a res dot status 404. I think this is how it goes. 404 send, and I'll just say the product does not exist. Does not exist. Oops. All right. And in case it exists, I'll be sending the JSON value and I will give the single product. All right, this looks good. Now let's just test this out. Let's go to this endpoint. So I'll be copying it here. Localhost 5000. And instead of this placeholder, I have to give a data value. So in our data, we have all our object data. And if I pass in like 1002, I just get the 1002 value. If I pass in 1003, uh, I I get this. And if I pass in 1017, which does not exist, let's see what it gives. Yeah, the product does not exist. All right. So we're good here. Now, what we can do is we can fetch this data in our front end. So let's go to product.js. So instead of fetching the whole array of objects, we'll be fetching a single data file. All right. So what we can do is we can give uh, so it's an API slash v1 slash data. All right, slash data, and then we can give an ID value which we have already extracted from our URL. So what I can do here is use backticks and use our JavaScript here. So basically, we have to use the dollar symbol and then give the ID value. What's this? And we have to use backticks or string literal to use this JavaScript. All right, now we can use it. So basically what we're doing is we're fetching from this API where the endpoint that we're giving is the ID value that we extract from our URL. So basically the ID value, which is in our window.location.href. And whenever we go to that endpoint, it's gonna give us its data like this. So suppose like if we search, if our ID value is 1003, it gives us this data. All right. So we're good to go. We have to convert it into JSON. That is mandatory to use the value. And we can just omit this, right? I'll just comment it out for now. And now what we can do is instead of using the object, which we used here, we can just use the JSON data because we don't need any more filtering. So when we do this, it should give us the same result. So let's go to products and 1002, and you can see that we get the data for it 1003, 1004. So basically, it's the same thing, but in a better way, in a short way. And the best thing about it is that whenever we are doing the fetch request, it does not need to fetch the whole data and then filter it out, right? It can just simply fetch a single data, and that is really efficient here. And basically, that is it for this video. All right, see you next one.